Texas was with John McCall, a lifelong Republican who has become an unlikely water activist.
Yeah.
Well, oh, thanks.
This is Texas.
John McCall's ranch is right next to Kyle Bass's property, where massive pumps could drain billions of gallons of water.
I've lived here all my life. My ranch has been in the family for 100 years.
What do you think of Kyle Bass as a neighbor?
He didn't apply for the Doctrine of Good Neighbor Award because I would have thought I would have got a phone call. You can't take a resource and say, I'm going to take 15 billion gallons away from that resource and it's going to be just fine per year, every year. It's not going to work.
On the other side of Redtown Ranch is Melissa Meter. She showed me her small pecan orchard that could be devastated by Kyle Bass's project.
What would you do if there's no water for the property?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we would have to move because you can't live without water, and neither can your animals. Definitely not something we want to do, but if we're forced to have to do it, then what else do? You can't live without water. This is my pig family.
How does it make you feel that someone like Kyle Bass wants to profit off of your water?
I wake up every morning, and that's the first thing that I open my eyes to. It's scary, you know. This is my home. I love it here, you know. I love it here, you know, and it's a shame that somebody could actually force me out.
What do you think needs to change in Texas?
If we do not change the rule of capture laws, then it's just going to keep happening.
Since 1904, Texas has had a groundwater law called the Rule of Capture. Essentially, landowners can pump as much water as they want from their property without getting sued by their neighbors. Now, conservative Republican lawmakers from East Texas want to change this antiquated law.
The rule of capture basically says whoever has the biggest pump wins. And I don't begrudge anybody for making money. We're not communists.
I can count one person who owns property in my entire district who is in favor of this project, and that's Kyle Bass.
So whatever you've been reading about us trying to take all the water and going to leave the whole area out of water, I would never do that. We are doing things that are responsible by law and by science.
What would it feel like to see him start drilling these wells?
I don't even think about that. I think we're at the right place at the right time to have this fight. I like a good fight.
Representative Cody Harris and Senator Robert Nichols are leading the fight to protect water in East Texas, but they'll need support from lawmakers across the state. That's why Harris called an 11-hour hearing this summer.
Let's say I'm your neighbor, and I decide I'm going to drill the same number of wells, but drill them deeper. You can't pump your water anymore. Who's in the right?
Not something I've thought about.
Do you believe that you have the capacity to feel empathy?
My wife asks me the same question all the time. Without joking aside, yes, I do.
During the hearing, Kyle Bass was adamant that he's looking out for the greater good of Texas.
So we sit here today because I read the state water plan, and it's farcical. There isn't a plan. And so as we sit here today, we worry about where we're going to move it from and to, we're going to stop exporting and things like that. What's going to happen is we're going to run out of water somewhere, and it's going to happen soon.
The thing is, Kyle Bass is right on this point. Right now, Texas is gaining about 1,500 people per day, in part because of Governor Abbott's tax abatements that have brought more and more businesses to the state. But its water plan hasn't caught up yet.
Do you think that there's going to be a water war between cities and rural parts of Texas?
I know that some areas of Texas are desperate for water, but you can solve that with surface water. You don't have to go into the aquifer.
But Kyle Bass couldn't make any money off of surface water.
That's exactly what I think this is all about.
In Texas, the state owns surface water like rivers and reservoirs, but landowners own the water that comes from aquifers under their land. So Bass is legally able to pump extraordinary amounts of groundwater, even if it leaves his neighbors' wells dry.
This is not a philanthropic effort. We are doing our best to do things right, but there actually is a world where you don't have to give up returns. And in the end, what that's doing is bringing water from high concentrated areas to areas of desperate need, which is a societal benefit.
While Bass claims that this is a societal benefit, I think this is actually a classic case of disaster capitalism, turning a crisis into a return for investors.
This is not greenwashing. We're actually creating things.
In 2021, Bass founded Conservation Equity Management. The firm does some real conservation projects, but its responsible water development isn't one of them. While this office may look pretty nondescript, it's actually the East Texas headquarters for Kyle Bass's Conservation Equity Management. In 3.5 years, they've already raised $185 million from their investors. Conservation Equity Management wants to pump water from counties that currently use 8 billion gallons total per year. Their plan would use over 15 billion gallons, going beyond what many believe the aquifer can handle, and potentially having consequences on nearby state-managed rivers. The Trinity River supplies water for Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. But if Kyle Bass's wells go online, there could be a lot less water flowing here too. That's because the water in the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifer is connected to the Trinity River. So Bass's pumps would potentially take water that a city like Dallas already depends on.
So if somebody like Dallas wants to buy from these wells, they're going to be buying their own water back.
Lawmakers advancing a bill that could put the brakes on major water pumping projects.
Representative Harris introduced a bill for a 2-year moratorium on Bass's project so scientists could study the effects on the aquifer.
Move passage.
But when the bill reached the Senate, Senator Nichols removed its key provision, the 2-year moratorium on drilling.
I did not feel like I had the votes to do the 2-year moratorium.
Why do you think you didn't have the votes?
We hired some of the most expensive lobbyists in the state of Texas.
It was just a massive, massive disappointment that the bill ended up dying.
I call on the Groundwater Conservation District to deny the permit application. Stand firm, and this body will have your back.
Since there is no 2-year moratorium, local entities called groundwater conservation districts will most likely decide the fate of Kyle Bass's permits. Groundwater conservation districts are a patchwork of local entities, but some counties in Texas don't have these districts at all. One of them is Houston County, where part of Kyle Bass's property sits.
You're in Houston County, which actually doesn't have a groundwater district. So technically, under the rule of capture, he could start pumping water tomorrow.
Well, if he really wanted to be the most unpopular man in the state of Texas, that's what he would do.
We're heading to a groundwater management meeting where they're in the middle of determining how much water could be pumped from the aquifer in the coming years. The board hired a hydrologist to see how large-scale pumping could affect East Texas water.
How much groundwater can be pumped from an aquifer without causing groundwater declines? Well, if it's that simple, we can all go home, because that answer is 0. You're always going to cause some declines. 568 of these wells would go dry.
As a community, we need to give support to you guys. You groundwater districts need support and funding because you cannot fund yourself.
The problem is these districts run on tight budgets. They have to choose between funding science about aquifers and fighting lawsuits.
If you're going to effectively manage the groundwater in our aquifers, you should be entirely focused on what the data says about the aquifers and nothing else.
But even the aquifer data that Representative Harris wants is contentious. People like Kyle Bass can distort the science by hiring their own hydrologists to produce data that supports their groundwater projects. To understand the reality of a massive groundwater project like this one, I traveled to Lee County to see these high-capacity water pumps in person. This is the Vista Ridge pipeline. It provides 20% of San Antonio's water, but it comes at a big cost for the people who live nearby. I met up with landowners who have been getting together for years to commiserate over the water they've lost.
When Vista Ridge started pumping, that was in the fall. And the next April, in the spring, my pump started sucking air. And so the well fell from 120 feet to 200 feet in a 6-month period. And you get air to the water system and your shower will start spitting at you. It's disgusting. So we're sunk.
They'll pump until
That's right.
there's no more water at all, and then they'll go on down the road.
So you feel like in this case there does need to be some more regulation?
Something. We got to somehow get control of this.
We need something now.
The $3 billion Vista Ridge project is one of the biggest private public infrastructure projects in the U.S. A consortium of major banks and private equity funded the project, and now they're making money by depleting this local aquifer. Okay. Meanwhile, people like the McGees continue to pay the price.
How many acres do you have? We have 50 acres.
Nancy McGee invited me to her property that she and her husband built together over 30 years ago.
What we're looking at is our water well history. And I always find it quite telling when I look at September of 1990, then 20 years later, it was at 68. That means that our water table dropped 1 foot in 20 years. That to me is incredible.
Wow. Today, the McGee's well is dropping 1 foot every month. But even after lowering their pump, it could run dry in about 7 years.
And then just for this last lowering of our pump, was over $10,000. For us at our age, that's devastating.
Nancy fought hard to get mitigation funds to cover the costs of drilling a deeper well. She and her neighbors eventually won, but they faced opposition from none other than Ed McCarthy, Kyle Bass's lawyer.
I've been accused of stealing water from widows and babies. We're not going to steal any water.
McCarthy has a history of using cunning legal tactics on poorly funded groundwater districts to secure water rights. Once, he even sued every single person on the board of a groundwater district in federal court because they took away a permit from one of his clients.
That's very intimidating because the district can't just cover all your legal fees. In this water wars, I think it's you're going to suffer from the pumping of the water, you're going to benefit from the pumping, and then there's just the right thing.
Back in East Texas, a groundwater conservation board is trying to determine if they did the right thing when they first reviewed Kyle Bass's drilling application. A new lawsuit claims there's a clear conflict of interest because a man named Donald Foster already had the contract to drill Bass's wells, but he was also on the very same board that processed the drilling application.
Why was Mr. Foster picked? It wasn't because he was on the board. It's because he's one of the best qualified drillers in that part of the country.
While I was reporting in Texas, a source told me that there could be a major development in this lawsuit. So our camera crew tagged along with Representative Harris to another local groundwater meeting.
Mr. McCarthy has been successful because he's been able to outspend and outlast the groundwater conservation districts. So we got to make sure that that doesn't happen this time.
My clients have no interest in drying up the aquifer, no interest in harming anyone, and they have publicly stated that if the data doesn't support the project or it requires a modification of whatever project may be requested, that that's what they'll do.
Our community, East Texas, and the entire state of Texas is depending on y'all. We support you and we're behind you.
Okay, this is actually a pretty pivotal moment in the case, but I'll be honest, at first I didn't really know what this decision meant, so listen carefully.
I'd like to make the motion that the district attorney are authorized to negotiate a judgment that will declare the prior votes on administrative completeness of application to be voided. The board will reconsider administrative completeness in a future meeting.
To translate some of the legal talk, Kyle Bass's application was just denied.
Everybody approves, say aye.
Aye.
So today, a little groundwater board in East Texas shut down Kyle Bass's project, at least for now.
Thank you guys for what y'all are doing. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
These groundwater districts are the last line of defense against major pumping projects in Texas, but they're also legally limited by the rule of capture. And even Kyle Bass thinks that law needs to change.
There are 10 rule of capture states in America. Going forward, given the scarcity of water, I think we're gonna have to see legislative changes.
I think it's abundantly clear that it's time for the state of Texas to modernize the rule of capture. Oil and gas used to be rule of capture in Texas until the neighbors started screaming and yelling about it, and then the legislature changed the way that was handled.
Representative Harris also passed a bill for a $20 billion fund to invest in new state-led water supplies and literally fixing leaky pipes. In the city of San Antonio alone, they're losing about 20 billion gallons of water a year because of aging pipes. That's basically the same amount of water that they get from the Vista Ridge pipeline. While there are some solutions to the Texas water crisis on the horizon, the reality is that there may not be enough water for everyone in the state.
Groundwater is precious, it's finite, it's this regimen of large-scale projects can't go on forever.
This is probably just the beginning of water wars that will continue to play out in Texas and beyond. Right now, private equity groups are selling water to Arizona's suburbs. Bill Gates is the biggest private owner of U.S. farmland that has rich water resources, and the billionaire Resnicks are hoarding water rights in California. But water isn't just a business opportunity. It's an essential part of life that needs to be protected. Unfortunately, Kyle Bass still thinks that he should be able to profit off of this precious resource. He and Ed McCarthy just filed 2 new lawsuits against the local groundwater board. So the water wars between East Texans and Bass aren't over yet. Thanks for watching this video. We're going to keep following this growing trend of wealthy elites who are privatizing our natural resources. Is there something similar going on in your community that you think we should cover? Or are there just other stories you want us to report on? Send tips to stories@perfectunion.us or sound off in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Oh gosh. All right, I'll have to figure out how to read and then I'll check that out. Are you able, could I like tell you right now, like, hey, I need like screen reader assistance and have you read that document for me? Yeah, I don't know. You guys always say like, I'll email it to you, and I don't know if it's not generated or like what legally or. All I know is HIPAA. I worked in like healthcare. I do work for Capital One, but I deal with just like building pretty features for small business banking. Right, but I can't read. I need assistance. Sure. Too many recently opened. Brother, okay, hold on. Let me fix this while I'm on the phone with you, and then you can put it through again. What more? Probably because I double-clicked pay, and my bank account was like, "Hey, there's no money." My paycheck just hit today, so I think I have like $1,000 in the bank. We'll see if I can do this. And even if I don't. Certainly, I'm just saying that's never happened until this month. So I just paid it. There's still $0 available. Let me pay it again. Let me just pay it down until there's like $100 available and see if that makes any difference. Let me just see how far I can pay it down. I think Capital One will even let me overdraw without a penalty. So I'll just try putting $1,000 on it real quick. That worked, and I now have still $0 available. All right, I'm just gonna try to full send 5,600, even though I definitely don't have more than like $100 in the bank account. It all worked. All right, my card balance is now $841. Hold on, let me just pay off the whole thing. I don't know where this money's coming from, honestly. There's not that much money in Capital One. I'm gonna wake up overdrawn like $6,000 to Capital One. All right, my card balance is $0. Can you do anything for me now? Yeah, slap that button for me. See if it likes me now. Let me pull up my fucking Capital One. See what the hell I just did.
Excuse me, ma'am, you're not allowed to retain audio messages. If you're attempting to build a case against one Kevin Sullivan, I'll have you know right now that you have no fucking shot in hell at proving anything, at proving any of the stuff that he's done for sure on camera. You'd just be better off deleting it, forgetting you ever heard it. If I see you save this audio message, I'm hopping on the first flight out to Denver. But no joke, I am coming out to Denver before, like on my way to, so basically like my future plans for the next 3 months are very rapidly Denver, Los Angeles, Poland, Ukraine. There's a girl on a border town in Ukraine who has an expired passport and needs to get out, so I sent her like the money to renew it or whatever, and if she takes care of it by the time that I get to Ukraine, then I'll steal her heart and take her away from her home country. And then Japan for like 1 to 72 months. And hopefully the game plan is at the end of Japan, come away with my dream girl from Ukraine, who I'll definitely have by then. But also have convinced my dream girl from Ukraine that it would be prudent to involve a third woman or a second woman in the relationship that we're going to have. Who specifically, you know, was raised to be very, very, like, as gross as it sounds, like, servitude-ish. Because, like, that's what they're doing with the Japanese women right now. Because they realize that, you know, for a very low price, for less than the cost of, like, a fucking trade school, you can raise an incredibly, like, refined and elegant daughter who knows how to cook and clean and let her loose on the world and have someone like me snap her up and take care of her, so.
Oh.
That's like my rough plan.
My bet is I bet it's pulling new data. I bet that it's instead, I think you guys probably get that together because we got that figured out at Capital One. I think what it's going to say is you opened too much recent credit. It's literally like $20,000 of credit in like the last 3 days, I think. So there might be something you have to do to like invalidate the one that you're looking at currently, because what might have happened is the system went through and it's like, okay, there was one in the last 24 hours. We're not going to spend our AI like brain power on it. Let me poof! I'm out of here. Help! Help! Low key. Yeah, play cool.
Excuse me, ma'am, you're not allowed to retain audio messages. If you're attempting to build a case against one Kevin Sullivan, I'll have you know right now that you have no fucking shot in hell at proving anything, at proving any of the stuff that he's done for sure on camera.
It took me literal. Don't laugh at that name because it took me literal.
Just be better off deleting it, forgetting you ever heard it. If I see you save this audio message,
thank you.
I'm hopping on the first flight out to Denver. But no joke, I am coming out to Denver before, like on my way to. So
I would say we just
basically like my future plans for the next 3 months are very rapidly Denver, Los Angeles, Poland,
$26 in the bank account.
Ukraine.
I just used to pay off $78.
There's a girl on a border town in Ukraine who has an expired passport and needs to get out. So
somebody's giving me like.
I sent her like the money to renew it or whatever, and if she takes care of it by the time that I get to Ukraine, then I'll
Hey,
steal
question.
their
I know
heart
you're with
and
Goldman Sachs, but do
take
you
it away
know
from
the
my home country.
do you know anything
And
about
then
CarPlay?
Japan for like 1 to 72 months.
No, I'd rather you don't. I just
And
wanted to inform
hopefully
you,
the
like,
game
on a
plan is at the
personal
end of
level. So
Japan,
the
come
only
away
car out
with
there
my
right now
dream
that's for sale
girl
is an Aston Martin.
from Ukraine, who I'll definitely have by then. But also have convinced my dream girl from Ukraine that it would be prudent to involve a third woman or a second woman in the relationship that we're gonna have. Who specifically, was raised to be very, very, like, as gross as it sounds, like servitude-ish. Because, like, that's what they're doing with the Japanese women right now. Because they realize that, for a very low price, for less than the cost of, like, a fucking trade school, you can raise an incredibly, like, refined and elegant daughter who knows how to cook and clean and let her loose on the world and have someone.
And it has like really big a photo of dog and pups and a Apple Pay buy with Apple Pay button there, and we want to make that front and center in the experience. And I think it's a legitimate on ramp to say, hey, download. Maybe you're downloading this app. You're somebody that like lives in Indonesia and you want to like buy Tesla stock, and like you found out this is a way to do that, or some other reason, right? You're not necessarily coming just for runes. Like we don't want to just pitch runes, but we want to bring people to the app and then ultimately onboard a lot of people to Bitcoin meme coins by kind of having them part of the, basically be treated fairly. I don't feel like we've been very treated fairly by a lot of the rest of crypto, I guess is what I would say. A lot of the exchanges have not allowed dogs.
It's too hard. It's too hard, and they're too lazy.
Yeah, they're lazy, and we're not willing to like pay them. They want to basically be bribed to build integrations. And I'm like, fuck you. We're gonna go build our own shit if you're not gonna do it. So you can download an app, and within 20 seconds, tap a button with Apple Pay and hold dog. So it's like, fuck you.
Okay, that's malicious. So like, I got a question for you, right? Because like I saw you guys added Monad, I think, right?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
Yeah. So like, I have like the #2 meme on the Monad blockchain on Nad.fun, and I would like to be on Zap. So how? I mean, the tech stack is basically just memes on Monad. And if you guys have Monad, I'm sure you could add Monad memes. Emo Nad, ticker is emo. You'll see it on
How much is it worth?
Nad.fun.
What's your market cap?
I mean, it's got an all-time high of 945. We're at 441 right now.
Is there like a pump fund of Monad you launched it on, or?
Yeah. So it's the #1 app with the most TVL is the pump fund of Monad, which is nad.fun. So like I launched emo day one, and like the trenches are, I mean, structure. Okay, so like that's the reason it's the #1 app. That's what people want. But the free structure is essentially like through buys, creator fees get distributed via 1% fees. Through sales, it's actually selling like emo, and 1% of that goes into a treasury. So like basically there's like 3.2% of emo is locked in like a NAD fund contract that is going to be used for like team stuff, right? So like that's basically not being touched. And if you want to use it for whatever, for your coin, you can do that. So it's like a really good fee structure. And yeah, the creator fees have been kind of nice, even with like this, I would say not amazing volume. Like Chog was like the main runner, right? And it dropped to like 12 million, but it got sniped. And now it's at like 2.6. And then the second top coin is us. Like I said, at like 450 right now, all-time high, like 946K. And then it's like Dip Wheeler dropped a coin there. The fucking, I don't know if you know the influencer or whatever, but yeah, I was still talking about it though, but that's okay.
Back then, I don't remember what, but your tone was, you thought it would be better to not professional.
He's one of the big.
Hey guys, long time listener, first time speaker. I was just hoping that we could talk about Dog, the #1 cryptocurrency in the world.
Holy fuck, what's this guy
Do
saying?
you guys
Listen,
know who Digital Nomad is? I thought he was like talking to you and you knew him.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, hang on. Digital. Pause. You got to talk into your mic. You can't hear what you're saying. I hear you said rare sats, but I can't.
you sound like you're in the bathroom, bruv. And you also interrupted me rudely.
No, I'm not in the bathroom. I'm in my office. That's what you guys.
Okay, listen, my point is like to land the plane before I get interrupted again and this guy talks over me. When Monad memes on Zap.fun, so I can get an Apple button.
Anybody could just explain that. I'm going to be taking like zero notes.
Yeah, so we are supporting the official Monad Solana bridge. So basically, Monad basically use Solana as like a replacement for. Yeah, so we are supporting the official Monad Solana bridge. So basically, Monad basically use Solana as like a replacement for.
Yo, the last thing I'll leave you with is if you, I'm sure you've watched The Office, obviously, but watch like the first couple of episodes and see how different Kevin Mahone is, because they completely, it's called the I don't know, it's like the serialization or something, but it's basically the longer running a series is, the more characters have to fit into like their clown roles, and so Jim becomes doing his Jim look every 7 times in an episode, when it used to be like, it was like twice in like perfect timing on the first 2 episodes. And so what they did with Kevin was dumb him way the fuck down, because he was like a competent accountant like the first couple episodes. But I think the whole thing's an act, and that he is just be president soon. Yep, vote for Kevin. Kevin Mahone, because I was born in the United States, even though 2 of my brothers were born overseas. Please clap. All right. Yeah, take care. Thanks so much. All right, BF out of fans. Bye.
The thing is, Bob, it's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care. Don't care? It's a problem of motivation, all right? Now, if I work my ass off and Initech ships a few extra units, I don't see another dime. So where's the motivation?
Remember when cubicles felt like prison cells with better staplers? Office Space was Mike Judge's deadpan love letter to workplace misery, a 1999 comedy about TPS reports, soul-crushing bosses, and the printer we all wanted to destroy. The plot? 3 programmers hit their breaking point with cubicle life. Peter, played by Ron Livingston, Michael, played by David Herman, and Samir, played by Ajay Naidu, and they plot the perfect crime, embezzling fractions of a cent at a time. The plan is brilliant, the execution, not so much. Today, we're counting down weird facts about Office Space. From casting near misses and Jennifer Aniston with too much flair to the red swing line stapler that didn't even exist until this movie made it famous. Stick around for number 2 because Mike Judge turned down a massive gig you'll recognize instantly. Now, before we jump in, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps YouTube show this video to more Gen X slackers just like you, and let us know in the comments if you want to see more retro movie deep dives like this one. Now, let's clock in and get to the countdown with number 15, the red stapler that fans manifested into reality. In a movie drowning in cubicle gray, one splash of red became legend. Milton's stapler was a spray paint job that accidentally launched a merchandising empire.
Oh, there it is. What? Here, let me just go ahead and get that from you. Great.
Swingline didn't make their 747 model in red, so the prop department grabbed a black one, hit it with Rio red spray paint, and stuck it on Milton's desk so it would pop against the corporate gloom. Nobody expected that prop to become the film's breakout star, but then again, nobody expected the film to become a cult classic either. After Office Space hit DVD and cable, fans started flooding Swingline with one question: where's the red stapler? eBay sellers began peddling homemade knockoffs, some spray painted in garages with more enthusiasm than skill, and finally, in April of 2002, 3 years after the movie bombed, Swingline caved and launched an official red 747. It instantly became a bestseller, outselling their boring black models. Sometimes failure in February leads to merchandising miracles by April. Number 14, Milton started as a scribble on Mike Judge's actual desk. Before Office Space was a movie, Milton Wadhams was just Mike Judge's revenge fantasy, possibly inspired by some poor cubicle drone who wouldn't shut up about his desk getting moved. The character was based on a real coworker who never stopped complaining about desk relocations, which sounds petty until you realize that petty workplace torment became the foundation of an entire corporate dystopia. Judge created Milton as an animated short that became a hit on MTV's Liquid Television in the early 90s. The same underground anthology gave us Aeon Flux and taught a generation of insomniacs that animation could be deeply uncomfortable.
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to transfer you to accounts payable, okay?
Well, no. Well, but I'm gonna... Okay.
The series followed a meek employee being humiliated by his boss, an early version of Bill Lumbergh, complete with that soul-draining monotone we'd all grow to fear.
Oh, and if you could just kind of go over those AIU DCP files at home tonight, that would be great. Okay? Well, thanks a bunch, Milton. Bye-bye. But...
The shorts became cult favorites, appearing on both Liquid Television and Saturday Night Live throughout the early to mid-90s. Eventually, Fox saw the potential and approached Judge about expanding it into a feature film. Judge took the idea beyond one beaten-down employee to an entire workplace of broken spirits, keeping Milton and Lumbergh as the emotional anchors. And just like that, desk relocations became a national trauma. Number 13, Fox wanted an Oscar winner to play a guy who stopped caring. Hollywood loves irony, so of course Fox wanted Good Will Hunting's Matt Damon or Ben Affleck to headline a film about hating your job and giving up on ambition.
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
The perfect face for existential burnout is obviously a recent Oscar winner, Doy. After Good Will Hunting exploded in late 1997, executives became obsessed with attaching a big name to Office Space. Mike Judge wasn't having it. He needed someone ordinary. Ron Livingston nailed the audition with a perfectly bored delivery. He looked like a guy who'd made peace with life's mediocrity, exactly what the role demanded. Damon was too Goodwill Hunting for a guy who'd given up on hunting anything. The casting chaos didn't stop there, though. Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn both auditioned for Peter's neighbor Lawrence, the role Diedrich Bader eventually owned with his mullet and Zen drawl about two chicks at the same time.
And I think if I were a millionaire, I could hook that up, too, because chicks dig dudes with money.
Well, not all chicks.
Well, the type of chicks that double up on a dude like me do.
Good point.
Well, what about you now? What would you do?
Besides two chicks at the same time?
Well, yeah.
Rumor has it Kate Hudson read for Joanna and comedian Artie Lang tested for Milton, though Jennifer Aniston ultimately swooped in fresh off Friends to play Joanna.
You know what? Yeah, I do. I do want to express myself. Okay? And I don't need 37 pieces of flair to do it. All right? There's my flair. Okay? And this is me expressing myself. Okay? There it is.
Giving Fox the marketing star they desperately craved. Meanwhile, Stephen Root's mumbling mastery was already untouchable, like trying to out Kramer. In hindsight, casting Livingston over a superstar was the most Office Space decision ever. It was quiet, underappreciated, and exactly right. Number 12, Jennifer Aniston got more flair because the studio wanted more Jennifer. Ron Livingston was the lead, but Fox wanted a name that could actually sell posters, so they speed-dialed the biggest sitcom star on the planet, even though her role was smaller than Milton's chance at employee appreciation. Jennifer Aniston had just gone global thanks to Friends, which in 1999 was unstoppable while teaching America that coffee shop jobs could somehow afford Manhattan apartments.
Are we ready to order?
Oh, you know what? We haven't even looked yet.
Well, when you do, just let me know. I'll be right over there on the edge of my seat.
Wow, look at these prices. Yeah, these are pretty cha-ching.
That made her a marketing dream, even if her original Office Space role was barely there. To justify the paycheck, the studio insisted Mike Judge expand Joanna's storyline, accidentally birthing the now iconic Flair subplot at tchotchkes that would haunt service workers for decades. The result was a manager obsessed with buttons and a scene that became every retail employee's collective PTSD flashback. Aniston only shot for about 2 weeks, cramming the film between Friends tapings like someone adding volunteer work to their resume 5 minutes before a job interview. But her scenes instantly clicked. Her chemistry with Livingston felt understated and real, her exasperation completely relatable, like she'd actually worked a shift at TGI Fridays and was channeling genuine pain. Number 11, the studio watched dailies and thought everyone was asleep. Every cult classic starts with an executive asking, why aren't they smiling more? Office Space was no different. As Mike Judge shot the movie, Fox executives kept sending notes demanding more energy and faster pacing, completely missing that boredom was literally the entire joke. It's like asking a librarian to crank the fog machine. It just doesn't make sense. They even asked Ron Livingston to lose weight and look more like a leading man. Apparently soul-sucking spreadsheets require apps for some reason. Judge refused, knowing Peter Gibbons wasn't supposed to sparkle. He was supposed to look like someone contemplating the void while pretending to update a spreadsheet. Things got worse when execs saw Gary Cole's slow drawling, yeah.
So, Peter, what's happening? Now, are you going to go ahead and have those TPS reports for us this afternoon?
No.
Yeah.
They panicked, convinced the actor was killing the film with every elongated vowel. Meanwhile, Judge was quietly crafting the most accurate depiction of office hell ever filmed, one monotone syllable at a time. The disconnect was brutal. Studios wanted Jim Carrey doing Ace Ventura faces in a cubicle. Judge, however, delivered existential despair with a side of hypnotherapy. Not even the same genre. They also fought him over the Ghetto Boys soundtrack until a test audience fell in love with it. In the end, the studio marketed it like an Office Depot clearance sale, missed the tone entirely, and watched it bomb harder than a frozen computer on deadline day. Number 10, David Herman's girlfriend accidentally invented no talent ass clown. Few insults have aged as beautifully as no talent ass clown, and here's the twist, it wasn't even in the script. The original line for Michael Bolton's character was something unprintable about the real singer that sounded legally risky, so actor David Herman turned to his girlfriend for help, and she casually dropped what would become one of the greatest improvised insults in cinema history.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that name.
There was nothing wrong with it.
until I was about 12 years old, and that no-talent ass clown became famous and started winning Grammys.
Judge loved it instantly. It fit like a glove. It was ridiculous, oddly poetic, and most importantly, lawsuit-proof. The holy trinity of movie insults. The real Michael Bolton hated it at first. In 2003, he complained that fans wouldn't stop quoting it back to him everywhere he went. Airports, grocery stores, probably his own concert venues. A decade later, he mellowed out, signing DVDs as the real Michael Bolton and even spoofing the scene in a Funny or Die sketch. Eventually, the term outlived both the movie's theatrical run and the insult's original sting, landing in Merriam-Webster's dictionary in 2019. Not bad for a throwaway suggestion from someone who wasn't even on set. Number 9, the Ghetto Boys turned office rage into poetry. Every generation has its anthem for frustration. For cubicle dwellers in 1999, it was Houston Gangsta Rap. And somehow, it was exactly right.
Is the group harder than an erection that shows no affection? They want to ban us on Capitol Hill.
Mike Judge fought tooth and nail to keep the Ghetto Boys in Office Space, while Fox execs argued it didn't fit a movie about white-collar software engineers. Judge begged for one more test screening and promised to cut it if audiences hated the pairing. Instead, a 19-year-old in the focus group saved cinematic history by declaring, "That's what's cool! These nerdy white boys and this angry music." The rap stayed, and suddenly angry printers met angry rap in perfect harmony. The Ghetto Boys, Willie D, Scarface, and Bushwick Bill ended up providing the movie's pulse. Willie D later said he loved it, calling the printer destruction sequence all about bucking the system, which is exactly what both the song and the scene accomplished. Turns out, "Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangsta" translate perfectly to "Damn It Feels Good to Destroy Office Equipment." Corporate team building videos tried to recreate it later, landing with all the grace of a fax machine in 2025, but the original printer beatdown is still pure therapy 25 years later. Number 8, Comedy Central made it go viral before viral was a thing. When Office Space hit theaters in February of 1999, nobody cared. I'm not even talking hyperbolically. I mean literally nobody cared. It scraped together just $12.2 million worldwide, barely covering its $10 million budget, and definitely not impressing the studio that wanted the next Austin Powers. Fox was expecting, "Yeah, baby," and got, "Yeah, I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday." Same apathy, just completely different energy. But then came the second life, the revenge tour, if you will. VHS, DVD, and endless Comedy Central reruns turned a theatrical corpse into a cultural phenomenon. The channel first aired it in August of 2001 to 1.4 million viewers, then ran it 35 times by 2003. That's when the movie mutated from flop to corporate scripture.
Hello, Peter. What's happening? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Suddenly, everyone knew TPS reports. Everyone had a case of the Mondays. Everyone wanted that red stapler. It became the shared language of workplace misery. Water cooler conversation starter, lunch break comfort watch, the movie your coworker definitely has on their laptop. Irony doesn't get richer than that. A movie about lazy employees only finding success after years of doing absolutely nothing but playing on cable. Now, we're going to take a quick break because if you're enjoying this deep dive into corporate rebellion, hit that like button and subscribe, and tell us in the comments your most quotable Office Space line. Unlike your boss, we'll actually notice. Now, back to more Office Space chaos with number 7. The poster looked like an Office Depot ad, and Judge hated it. You know that weird guy covered in Post-it notes on the original Office Space poster? Mike Judge took one look and said it looked like an Office Depot ad designed by someone who'd never laughed. And he wasn't wrong. The tagline, "Work Sucks," didn't help matters. It was about as subtle as a Lumbergh memo and completely missed the film's deadpan satire. They even stuck a guy in a plexiglass cube in Times Square for 5 days as a publicity stunt. The perfect way to sell a workplace satire. Actual workplace torture in Midtown Manhattan. When the film tanked, Judge finally got his revenge on the DVD release. He convinced Fox to redesign the cover, sneaking Milton peeking out from behind the Post-it man with his red stapler. That small tweak flipped the entire marketing message. Fans recognized the reference, and suddenly the packaging actually represented what made the movie special.
Boy, I tell you, some days, one of these days it's just gonna be like...
So can I get you gentlemen something more to drink? Or maybe something to nibble on? Some pizza shooters, shrimp poppers, or extreme fajitas?
Just coffee.
Okay. Sounds like a case of the Mondays.
Also, it's proof that Milton is more valuable as marketing than he ever was as an employee, which feels appropriate. Number 6, Lumbergh's meltdown got deleted to keep him robotic. Somewhere on a cutting room floor sits a scene where Bill Lumbergh finally loses it, and it's exactly as unsettling as you'd imagine, like watching Mr. Rogers curse. The sequence showed his Porsche getting towed after Peter stole his parking spot, and for once in his beige existence, the usually unflappable boss completely freaked out. Gary Colt nailed the explosion, shouting while a tow truck dragged away his luxury status symbol, probably his only genuine emotion since 1987, but when Mike Judge watched the playback, something felt fundamentally broken. Lumbergh wasn't supposed to feel emotions. His whole power came from that soul-dead monotone, the eternal, yeah.
I'd like to go ahead and welcome a new member to our team here. This is Bob Slidell. Yeah.
That made your skin crawl and your spirit die. So, Judge cut it. The meltdown got axed, and all we see now is the Porsche being hauled off in the background while Peter, Michael, and Samir cheer, blissfully unaware they've destroyed their boss's entire identity. Cole later said he was relieved. The outburst made Lumbergh seem human, and that defeated the entire joke. We needed him to stay robotic, untouchable, and forever calm. Keeping him composed even while his only friend got towed made him scarier, funnier, and infinitely more memorable. Number 5, PC load letter was real, and the reaction was pure instinct.
One of the exercises that you're supposed to figure out what you would want to do. If PC load letter, what the fuck does that mean?
The most relatable line in Office Space, it wasn't even in the script. When that possessed printer flashed PC load letter on screen, David Herman had the same reaction we all did. Complete confusion mixed with rage. Turns out that cryptic error message was 100% real. Hewlett-Packard actually programmed their printers to spit out that gibberish, as if office workers didn't already have enough reasons to fantasize about destruction. Herman's response, PC load letter, what the f does that mean? Wasn't acting. The printer jammed mid-take, and his frustration was so raw, so perfectly universal, that Mike Judge knew he'd struck comedy gold. That's the sound of every person who's ever battled a printer at 4:45 p.m. on a Friday. To this day, tech forums still reference PC load letter whenever something breaks, which, let's be honest, is constantly. Printers run on spite, toner, and the tears of people who just need to print one more page. Number 4, the waiter with too much flair took Fox to court and lost. Remember Brian, the aggressively enthusiastic tchotchkes waiter who guilt-tripped Joanna about expressing herself with more buttons?
Well, like Brian, for example, has 37 pieces of flair on today, okay? A terrific smile.
You want me to wear 37 pieces of flair like you're a pretty boy over there, Brian?
Actor Todd Duffy loved playing that guy until 2007, that is, when his face ended up all over a product called the Office Space Box of Flair. It came with a parody guidebook and 15 actual buttons. Duffy sued Fox, claiming the studio used his likeness without permission on both the book cover and one of the buttons. A legal no-no called the Lanham Act. The court, however, disagreed, and here's where it gets beautifully, poetically ironic. His contract, a standard day player agreement, gave the studio all rights throughout the universe to his performance. Yes, throughout the universe, not just Earth, not just this dimension, the entire cosmos, every parallel reality, all possible futures. Somewhere in the multiverse, there's a version of Brian still asking for more flair. The judge called the language unambiguous. Legalese for you signed your soul away and the receipts are ironclad, and dismissed the case in 2014. It's poetic, really. The guy who embodied mindless corporate enthusiasm got legally crushed by the most corporate clause imaginable. Number 3, the cast started swearing on purpose to stop a PG-13 rating. Midway through filming, word trickled down that Fox wanted Office Space to be PG-13. The logic was simple. You had a broader audience, there were more ticket sales, less profanity equals more money. Basic studio math that completely misses the point. But the cast's reaction was closer to, over our dead printer.
Give it to me. Come on, you little let's go. That's what I need. Let's do that. Let's do exactly that, you little.
David Herman recalled that when he heard about the plan, he immediately began dropping more F-bombs in every scene he could squeeze them into. He called it stuffing as many blue things as possible between things, to make sanitizing the film completely impossible during post-production. Mike Judge quietly approved because the whole team knew that sanitizing the film would kill its authenticity. After all, no one trapped in corporate hell curses politely while their printer jams for the 15th time that morning. The rebellion worked. The strategic profanity pushed the movie into R-rated territory, preserving the bite that made it feel real. Without those improvised swears, Office Space might have ended up as a forgettable family-friendly training video about teamwork and positive attitudes. Number 2, Mike Judge turned down the sequel because the first one nearly broke him. Now, Hollywood logic says if a movie bombs, you bury it and pretend it never happened. But for Office Space, once it blew up on DVD and cable, Fox suddenly wanted Office Space 2, and Mike Judge couldn't stop laughing at the irony. The same studio that called it too slow, too weird, and marketed it like a clearance sale now wanted him back for round 2, but Judge's experience making the first film had been a nightmare of executive interference, creative tug-of-war, and notes about more energy that completely missed the tone.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of being pushed around. Aren't you?
Yes, Peter. But I'm not going to do anything illegal.
Illegal? Samir, this is America.
Every fight he'd won, keeping the Ghetto Boys, maintaining the deadpan tone, and resisting the PG-13 cut, had cost him something. When Fox approached him about a sequel, he politely declined. He later told interviewers that just thinking about going through that process again gave him hives, which is probably the most relatable thing anyone involved with Office Space ever said. Number 1, The Office came calling and Mike Judge hung up immediately. Now, we know he declined Office Space 2, but little did he know another Office would soon come knocking. A few years later, NBC reached out asking Mike Judge to adapt The Office for American audiences. NBC even mailed him a packet stuffed with glowing reviews for the British version.
No, show us your moves.
Nah, there's no beat, is there?
Go on.
You can't do like music and everything. Well, let's well, I just for charity, just a little bit.
Critics loved it, audiences loved it, everyone loved it. Then Judge started reading and the first line of one article stopped him cold. The Office succeeds where movies like Office Space failed. That was it. Judge threw the material down and turned the job down on the spot. No meetings, no phone calls, no polite, let me think about it and get back to you, just no. Hard pass. The gig went to Greg Daniels, Judge's own King of the Hill collaborator, who turned it into one of TV's most successful sitcoms. NBC got their Office. It became a phenomenon, and Mike Judge, well, he was perfectly happy watching from the outside, probably laughing at the irony. And there's 15 weird facts about Office Space, a movie that flopped harder than a printer on a Monday morning. So, which fact surprised you most? The Flair subplot that killed an actual restaurant policy, or the swearing rebellion that saved the rating? Drop it in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And remember, if anyone asks for those TPS reports, tell them you're working from home. They can't prove otherwise. Until next time, this is Remember When.
Schoolhouse Rocky, the chip off the block of your favorite schoolhouse.
Remember when a cartoon about grammar was the coolest thing on Saturday morning TV? When you knew every word to conjunction junction but forgot to study for your test? From 1973 to 1985, Schoolhouse Rock aired 64 episodes on ABC, 3-minute lessons disguised as cool jazz and animation. It wasn't boring classroom stuff, it was catchy, clever, and somehow made grammar, math, and the preamble stick in our brains for life. Today, we're counting down 15 weird and wonderful facts about Schoolhouse Rock. Now, before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hype the video. It helps YouTube show it to more fans of classic Saturday morning TV, so let's get into the countdown with number 15. It all started because a kid couldn't do math. In the early 70s, advertising executive David McCall noticed something funny about his son. The kid could sing every Rolling Stones lyric by heart, but couldn't remember how to multiply 7 times 8 to save his life. So McCall had a light bulb moment. What if learning felt more like a song on the radio than a trip to detention? He brought in jazz musician Bob Dorough, a recording artist known for his witty lyrics and playful approach to rhythm. Dorough had once written a novelty album inspired by the ingredients labels on canned food, so clearly the man could make anything sound cool. Dorough turned math into music with a little tune called 3 is a Magic Number.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
It was so catchy that adults couldn't get it out of their heads. When illustrator Tom Yo at McCall's ad agency heard it, he sketched visuals to match. Suddenly, the idea wasn't just educational, it was entertainment.
It takes 3 legs to make a tripod or to make a table stand.
McCall and producer George Newell pitched the concept to ABC, where fate stepped in. Michael Eisner, a young exec under pressure to add educational content, liked it, but wasn't completely sold. Then animation legend Chuck Jones, who just happened to be in the meeting, watched the pilot, turned to Eisner, and gave the simplest, most decisive review in TV history: buy it. According to Newell, it became the quickest deal in television history. Eisner immediately ordered the series and told the network to carve out a spot between cartoons.
It takes 3 wheels to make a vehicle called a tricycle.
On January 6, 1973, Multiplication Rock premiered and kids everywhere discovered that learning could actually groove. The success led to Grammar Rock, America Rock, and a pop culture phenomenon. Decades later, Eisner would say people mentioned Schoolhouse Rock to him more than Raiders of the Lost Ark or The Lion King, all because one kid preferred Mick Jagger to mathematics and the kid who created Bugs Bunny said yes.
In the family, that's a magic number.
Number 14, the name was inspired by Elvis. Before Schoolhouse Rock became a household name, it was almost called Scholastic Rock, which sounds less like a Saturday morning cartoon and more like a pop quiz you forgot to study for. The problem was that Scholastic Inc. already had dibs on the name, so the creators needed a new title fast. That's when someone remembered Elvis Presley's 1957 hit,
and
Jailhouse.
then I just pretend
the
I have
formula
like sleep
was
paralysis
perfect.
demons,
Swap out
like
Jailhouse for
stalking
Schoolhouse,
my
keep a
room
rebellious
for the next
vibe,
half
and
hour, and I
suddenly
just
you've got a
lie
name
there,
that
like-
tells kids exactly what they're getting. Classroom
jaw-
lessons
like
that don't feel like
jaw-locked,
punishment.
you
When
know,
Multiplication Rock premiered in 1973, the
flexing
new name
everything
stuck.
gridded
It
out,
was catchy, it made sense, and it didn't make kids think
and then,
they
yeah,
were about to
five
sit through a
o'clock
film
rolls
strip
around
about the
and
Dewey
my,
Decimal System. Let's be real, Scholastic
knocks on
Rock
my
would have
door and
tanked
I
before the
remember
first
that
commercial
there's
break.
no sleep
Number
paralysis
13,
demons,
the
and I
songs
stand up
had
on
to
my
be 3 minutes. If
damaged
Schoolhouse
but
Rock
functional
always felt
feet,
as tight as a
and
pop
get on
single,
with my
that's
day.
because
So I
it
figured
literally
that's probably
Every
similar for
segment
you,
had
right?
to be exactly 3
Except
minutes
starting
long.
like a half hour
This wasn't
later and
an artistic choice or
not
a
like the
symbolic
fake stuff,
nod
'cause
to 3
you
as a
are
magic
actually
number,
just
it was a network rule.
a,
ABC needed uniform 3-minute interstitials to fill the tiny gaps between Saturday morning cartoons, the same
Love you,
slots
man. I
used
hope I
for
get to see you
cereal
tomorrow.
commercials
Bye-bye.
or station promos. The creators understood that constraint perfectly. They were ad people after all. They were used to saying a lot in a short time, so they wrote their lessons like commercial jingles for learning. Catchy, rhythmic, and built to grab attention fast. That meant some sacrifices. Doro's original version of 3 is a magic number ran longer and included the line, "A man and a woman had a little baby."
A man and a woman had a little baby. Yes, they did. They had 3.
It got the axe for time. Other songs like My Hero Zero and The Four-Legged Zoo had to lose verses or intros that later resurfaced on the album versions.
My hero zero, such a funny little hero.
Still, those time limits turned out to be a creative blessing. Every tune had to hook listeners instantly, teach something memorable, and rap before the next cartoon. The result was a masterclass in musical economy that turned what should have been filler into timeless pop culture gold. Number 12, every song had to pass a real school's approval first. Before Schoolhouse Rock could teach millions of kids, it had to pass one tough test. Real educators at Bank Street College of Education in New York City. From the start, the creators wanted academic credibility. They didn't just want catchy tunes, they wanted proof that the songs actually worked. So when Bob Doro finished 3 as a magic number, the team played it for real classrooms of kids. The results were undeniable. Students remembered both the tune and the math. That success convinced ABC that the series could be fun and educational.
4, 3,
3, 6, 9,
12,
12, 15, 18,
21.
21, 24, 27, 30.
From then on, Bank Street reviewed every script and lyric before it aired, ensuring the facts were solid even when the rhymes were playful. Their input became especially valuable during America Rock when topics like the Constitution and westward expansion needed extra care. That partnership gave Schoolhouse Rock its rare balance of entertainment and accuracy, and it's why so many of us still remember the lyrics better than the textbooks. Number 11, a Connecticut barn saved Saturday mornings. When Schoolhouse Rock ended its original run in 1985, nobody thought to preserve the magic. Literally. The animation cells, sheet music, and even the original 24-track master tapes vanished into the void of mid-80s network storage.
Oh,
do, but it looks like I'm gonna live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
For years, fans thought the original recordings were gone forever. As fan nostalgia grew in the early 90s, ABC quietly began exploring a revival, and that search led to one wild discovery. The master audio reels turned up in a barn in Connecticut. No one's entirely sure who found them or how they got there, but there they were. Dusty boxes filled with the songs that taught an entire generation to count, vote, and punctuate. The rediscovered tapes made high-quality re-releases possible and fueled the show's return to TV in 1993. The key to reviving Schoolhouse Rock wasn't a new idea or a big budget, it was a barn in Connecticut and some very lucky timing. Number 10, Bob Dorough was a real jazz legend. Schoolhouse Rock made multiplication sound smoother than a Miles Davis riff, and you can thank Bob Dorough for that. Before teaching kids that 3 is a magic number, Dorough was already a respected jazz figure. In the 1950s, he played Paris clubs with the greats and recorded his 1956 debut album, Devil May Care, packed with sharp wit and clever chord changes.
I'm happy as I can be. I've learned to love and to live. Devil may care.
That mischievous spirit caught the attention of ad man David McCall years later. And then came Miles Davis. The notoriously selective trumpeter recorded 2 songs with Dorough in 1962. Blue Xmas, To Whom It May Concern, and Nothing Like You.
I hope you have a white one, but for me, it's blue.
Davis once called Dorough a didactic tyrant, which, coming from Miles, was basically a compliment. When McCall needed someone to make math swing, Dorough's mix of bebop brains and lyrical playfulness made him the perfect fit.
Lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. Lolly, 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 got some adverbs here.
His fingerprints were all over the series, from unexpected key changes to funky time signatures that made grammar sound like jazz. Even after Schoolhouse Rock made him beloved by millions of kids, Dorough never left the scene. He performed into his 90s, signed with Blue Note in his 70s, and often slipped Conjunction Junction into live sets, delighting audiences who knew every word.
Junction, junction, what's your function? Hooking up words and phrases.
He earned a Grammy nomination in 1974, and decades later, a National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Masters Award in 2019. The man who taught a generation their times tables also taught them that jazz can make anything swing, even a grammar lesson. Bob Dorough passed away on April 23rd of 2018 at the age of 94. Number 9, the Jazz Cats used their own kids as backup singers. It turns out Schoolhouse Rock didn't just teach kids, some of them actually helped make the music. In the early days of production, composer Bob Dorough and his fellow jazz musicians kept things close to home, literally. When it came time to record the backing vocals, they brought in their own children to sing the choruses. Dorough's daughter, Aralee Dorough, was among them, along with the sons and daughters of other studio players. The result wasn't a polished studio choir. It was better. The kids' raw, untrained voices gave the songs a genuine classroom energy that perfectly matched the spirit of the show. You can hear it clearly on The Four-Legged Zoo, where Dorough's cool, adult vocals bounce off the kids' enthusiastic responses. It sounds like learning in real time. It's messy, joyful, and alive.
We went to the Four-Legged Zoo to visit our four-footed friends.
It wasn't a slick corporate production with endless budgets. It was a scrappy, family-driven experiment built by musicians and ad creatives who just wanted to make something that worked. Having their own children sing on the tracks made the whole thing feel homemade, and that authenticity became part of Schoolhouse Rock's charm.
Lions and tigers, cats and dogs, a dog and a cow and a...
The approach mirrored the show's mission. Education brought right into the living room by parents who believed kids could learn and groove at the same time.
And I can't remember how many more, but we multiplied them all by 4.
While Bob Dorough was teaching America to count and rhyme, his daughter and her friends were literally in the background, helping a generation find its voice. Number 8, the magic number went hip-hop. If you grew up with Schoolhouse Rock and came of age with MTV, this one's going to blow your mind a little bit because your Saturday morning math lesson turned into a hip-hop classic. In 1989, the group De La Soul released their debut album 3 Feet High and Rising and sampled Bob Dorough's 1973 tune 3 is a Magic Number. They didn't just borrow a melody, they made it the soul of their breakout single, The Magic Number.
3, that's a magic number. Yes, it is.
That familiar line, once used to help Gen X kids survive multiplication tables, became the hook for one of the most creative tracks in alternative hip-hop. De La Soul flipped the meaning. 3 wasn't about arithmetic anymore, it was about them. They were a trio preaching peace, positivity, and what they called the Daisy Age.
Somewhere in this hip-hop soul community was born 3 laced up in me, and that's a magic number.
The track layered in everything from Double D and Stensky's Lesson 3 to a Led Zeppelin drum break, creating a sound collage that was playful, smart, and just weird enough to make parents nervous. Unlike other samples from the album, this one never caused legal trouble, but other clearance issues kept 3 Feet High and Rising stuck in legal limbo for decades, unavailable on streaming until 2023. That meant when Spider-Man No Way Home dropped in 2021 and played the magic number over the end credits, half the audience thought, cool song, while every Gen Xer whispered, wait, that's Schoolhouse Rock. The filmmakers even confirmed it wasn't just a coincidence. They used the song to celebrate the 3 Spider-Man, and Schoolhouse Rock's doodle-style animation was mimicked in the credits. From Saturday morning cartoons to hip-hop to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, 3 is a magic number proved Bob Doro was right all along. 3 really was magic, and it still is. Alright, we're going to take a quick pause here because we want to make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and while you're at it, tell us your favorite Schoolhouse Rock song in the comments, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep rocking through the weirdest facts of the past. Now let's get back to the countdown with number 7. Interplanet Janet was the space-age superhero of Saturday mornings.
They say our solar system is centered.
Who rocketed across space teaching kids the order of the planets, and somehow she made it sound funky, baby.
She's been to the sun. It's a lot of fun. It's a hot spot. It's a gas.
Each verse gave a quick tour of the solar system. Saturn's rings, Venus's clouds, and Pluto's lonely spot, back when we still put some respect on Pluto's name.
And Pluto, little Pluto, is the farthest planet from our sun.
At the time, the song was scientifically solid, even though most of the outer worlds had barely been photographed. Aarons and the animators were working with imagination more than data, which gave science rock its wonderfully optimistic charm.
The solar system is not alone in space.
For a generation of kids, Interplanet Janet was their first astronomy lesson. Teachers rolled it out on wheeled TVs, and every kid in class hummed the tune while labeling diagrams. It was simple, fast, and surprisingly sticky, like learning orbital mechanics through disco. Then, 2006 happened. Pluto got downgraded to Dwarf Planet, which meant Janet's catchy 9 planets lyric suddenly became outdated. Later DVD releases quietly changed it to 8 planets, while some teachers just paused mid-song to explain what happened to poor Pluto. Janet did make a comeback in 2009's Solar Power to the People, proving she still had enough star power to headline another mission.
Janet! There she goes. Interplanet Janet took a trip to the shore.
Decades later, Interplanet Janet remains a time capsule of 1970s optimism, back when space was the future and the universe still had 9 planets to sing about.
There's never been a planet Janet hasn't seen.
Number 6, I'm Just a Bill became a civic superstar.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, odds are your entire understanding of American democracy came from one very exhausted piece of paper sitting on the Capitol steps. I'm Just a Bill wasn't just a cartoon, it was Civics 101 set to a swing beat.
Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city.
Jazz pianist Dave Frischberg wrote it, and it debuted on March 27, 1976 as part of America Rock. The story was simple. A humble Bill explains his long bureaucratic journey to becoming a law. Committee hearings, congressional votes, presidential signatures. Somehow Frischberg made all of it catchy.
Long wait while I'm sitting in committee.
The voice of that rolled up piece of parchment was jazz trumpeter Jack Sheldon, whose gravelly drawl gave the bill his wary, worldwide charm. The kid asking all the questions, well, that was Sheldon's real-life son John. Father-son voice acting. How cool is that?
But I know I'll be a law someday, at least I hope and pray that I will.
Frischberg's melody was pure jazz meets jingle. It was bouncy, bittersweet, and absurdly sticky.
But today I am still just a bill.
Millions of kids learned how laws got made before they knew their state capitals. To this point, Congress had never been so singable. Of course, the lesson was a little optimistic. There were no filibusters, no lobbying, no gridlock, just a friendly paper scroll patiently waiting to be signed. Outlets like Politico and Vox tried to update it for modern times, but nothing stuck like the original.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far.
The song became iconic to the point that The Simpsons even parodied it, with Jack Sheldon voicing an amendment to be.
I'm not garbage. I'm an amendment to be. Yes, an amendment to be.
Saturday Night Live did a hilarious sketch on how a bill does not become a law.
But then I need from the Senate a majority. And if I pass the legislative act, then I wind up on the president's desk. And I
Family Guy and Robot Chicken took their shots at it too. And in 2018, the Library of Congress added the song to the National Recording Registry, basically saying it's important enough to preserve forever. Not bad for a cartoon about paperwork.
Signed you, Bill. Now you're a law. Oh, yes.
Number 5, the preamble taught the Constitution better than school did.
I think I will.
1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree.
If you can still sing the opening of the U.S. Constitution, but you can't remember your Wi-Fi password, you have Schoolhouse Rock to thank for that.
The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country.
The preamble first aired on November 1st, 1975 as part of America Rock, the show's bicentennial gift to
cool.
America.
Your parents can, it takes about 30 seconds, and instead of like, like probably angling your head and stuff, your parents
While most kids were watching Scooby-Doo solve mysteries, Schoolhouse Rock was teaching them how a nation got built.
Established justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
I think it was
$69.99
or something when we looked,
performed
but
it,
that's
and
something you
she
can't afford, dude. Like,
absolutely
Merry
nailed it.
Christmas.
This song
shoot me
was
a
one
text
of her
and let me know if
first
you're gonna get it or
professional
not.
gigs, long before she won Tony
And if you're not,
Awards
for
for
some reason,
Ragtime and Once on This
whatever that
Island
reason
and
is,
become a
you, like,
legend
tell
in
whatever
musical
lie you
theater.
want.
Provide for the common defense.
You'll probably end up with
Promote the general
some of you are gonna
welfare.
The song set the preamble to music, turning We the People into a gentle,
And I'd
folk-inspired
love to hear from your
sing-along.
parents
To
if
fit
they
the
wanna
rhythm,
record, like, a
Aaron's
voice
dropped
call
just
like I'm
4
doing
words
now,
of
just
the
to say,
United
like,
States,
hey,
but otherwise it was shockingly
you know,
accurate.
we're, like,
The
worried
animation
about your
traced
interaction with our
America's
son,
story
or,
from
like, hey,
1787
thanks for being, like, a
Philadelphia to
friend
the
to him.
modern day,
That would make me
showing
happy.
the founding fathers drafting the Constitution while kids watched it all unfold.
To ordain and establish this Constitution.
It worked better than anyone expected. Teachers started using it in civics classes. Students who couldn't sit still through a history lecture suddenly knew the preamble by heart. One teacher in the 80s joked that half her class hummed the melody during tests.
For the United States of America.
The New York Times praised America Rock in 1976 for turning the Constitution into a joyful musical experience. High praise for a Saturday morning cartoon. Decades later, the preamble remains one of the most beloved songs in the series. For millions of Gen Xers, this wasn't just a cartoon, it was how we learned what we the people actually meant.
For the United States of America.
Number 4. Nostalgic college students brought it back. When Schoolhouse Rock wrapped in 1985, it looked like the end, but the kids who grew up singing along to Conjunction Junction had other ideas. By the early 90s, those kids were in college and they still knew every word. Long before social media, Gen X fans started a grassroots petition campaign to bring the show back. Phone calls, letters, word of mouth, pure nostalgic power. ABC noticed, and in 1993, the classics returned to Saturday mornings, and the response was instant. Old fans came back, new kids tuned in, and the network even produced fresh episodes. Bob Dorough and Jack Sheldon reunited for new grammar rock numbers like Busy Prepositions, while Lynn Ahrens wrote and sang The Tale of Mr. Morton.
These little words we call the busy P.
Preposition.
9 or 10 of them.
Then came Money Rock in 1994, which turned taxes, credit, and national debt into musical lessons like Taxman Max and Tyrannosaurus Debt. Somehow, they made economics funky.
There's something huge, red, white, and blue that's grazing in D.C. It's gobbling up the taxes that are paid by you and me.
The nostalgia wave spilled into other media. In 1995, a stage musical, Schoolhouse Rock Live, hit off-Broadway, and the 1996 tribute album Schoolhouse Rock Rocks featured Blind Melon, Better Than Ezra, and Biz Markie.
Energy!
Sometimes I think I'm running out of energy.
In other words, the show that taught kids the preamble to the Constitution ended up teaching a generation.
DVC. Yo, I can't hear you. That looks sick though, dude. It looks like you're driving a nice car. I am gonna be placing an order for like $40,000 of Apple hardware tomorrow. So I just wanted to quickly press like this, whatever this verification button is. Oh, you need to actually like go enable contact key verification. So just call me back when you've done that, all right? I'll hang out here. Maybe you can do it while you're on it.
Constitution ended up teaching a generation how to launch a full-blown revival. Number 3, it got the biggest crowd in Kennedy Center history. Sort of. In January of 2013, Bob Doro walked onto the Kennedy Center's Millennium stage to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Schoolhouse Rock. The room usually holds a few hundred people. Nearly 1,000 showed up. Fans packed the aisles, lined the stairways, and sang every lyric to Conjunction Junction.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function? Hooking up words.
Gen Xers brought their kids, jazz fans brought nostalgia, and for one night the show's music turned into a multi-generational sing-along. The crowd set an attendance record for that venue. Not the main concert hall.
What's good, brother?
Venue. Not the main concert hall, but the Millennium Stage series. Still, it was historic, an educational cartoon for the 70s pulling a bigger audience than most modern jazz gigs. It wasn't just a concert, it was a reunion. Proof that the show didn't just teach a generation, it became part of their DNA. 4 decades later, the song still knew how to bring people together. Number 2, Conjunction Junction. The one everyone remembers.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function?
You're already singing it, aren't you? If there's one Schoolhouse Rock song that could make an entire generation start humming in unison, it's Conjunction Junction.
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Written by Bob Doro and performed by jazz trumpeter Jack Sheldon, the segment first aired on November 17, 1973 as part of the Grammar Rock series. Its simple premise, teaching how conjunctions link words, phrases, and clauses, turned it into one of the most iconic and downright catchy lessons in TV history.
I got 3 favorite cars that get most of my job done.
The tune's magic comes from its railroad metaphor, a cheerful train yard where boxcars labeled and, but, and or hook up sentences just like rail cars on a track. It's a perfect visual, practical, memorable, and surprisingly funky.
I got and, but, and or, they'll get you pretty far.
Sheldon's gravelly, soulful voice sells the whole thing. He was no studio rookie. He was a jazz veteran and sidekick on The Merv Griffin Show, whose relaxed phrasing made grammar feel cool. Backing him were real jazz musicians, which explains why the song grooves like something you'd hear in a smoky club rather than a spelling bee.
And, that's an additive, like this and that. But
the lyrics themselves are a masterclass in teaching.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function?
That refrain didn't just explain the grammar, it burned it into every kid's memory.
Hooking up 2 boxcars and making them run right.
The song broke out of the classroom and into pop culture, showing up in Reality Bites in 1994, Glee, and even the U.S. Department of Education's Hold Music in 2010.
Conjunction Junction, what's your function?
Ask anyone born between 1965 and 1985 what a conjunction does, and odds are they'll sing the answer. Decades later, Conjunction Junction still runs on time, proof that sometimes the best education starts with a hook, a groove.
What have they done to my boy? No!
Number 1, the creators made almost no money. For all the joy, learning, and lifelong nostalgia Schoolhouse Rock gave us, the people who actually created it, the musicians, writers, and animators, saw very little of the money it made. That's because Schoolhouse Rock was born inside an advertising agency of McCaffrey and McCall, which handled ABC's network account. The show wasn't an independent passion project, it was a work for hire. That meant everything, the songs, characters, and animation, legally belonged to the agency and eventually the network.
That's called interest. You're making money that way, and you can buy that gear about a year from today.
Jazz musician Bob Doro, the creative heartbeat of the series, was reportedly paid per song, just like he would be for any other commercial gig. Even as the series became a cultural phenomenon, Doro still had to perform in clubs and teach music to make a living. Fellow songwriter Lynn Ahrens also received only a modest fee for her contributions. When ABC took full control of the series, the creator's ownership vanished completely. Then, in 1996, when Disney acquired ABC, the entire Schoolhouse Rock library became Disney property, including every song, animation, and character. From that point on, all profits from home video sales, merchandise, and reruns went to the corporate parent, not the people who actually made it. Bob Doro was philosophical about it. He continued to perform Schoolhouse Rock songs at jazz gigs well into his 80s, smiling as fans sang along to The 3 is the Magic Number or Conjunction Junction. The fame
That's right, you may have gotten fat, but I'm
wasn't.
still funny and skinny, you motherfucker. Hopefully you're still fat and Steven,
they didn't
and then,
make
you know,
millions,
we'll
but they
be cool.
taunt billions. That's the kind of legacy you can't buy.
Yo, if you
and
can,
there
like,
you have it, 15 weird and
whatever
wonderful
you're
facts
comfortable
about
sharing
Schoolhouse
about your
Rock.
actual
Which fact
role at
surprised
Apple,
you the
like,
most, and which song still lives
I'm
rent-free in your
interested in
head?
how long you've been
Sound off in the
there,
comments and
basically
be sure
just
to
like
like,
resume
subscribe,
material,
and
like
hype this
metrics
video
that
if you
you've
enjoyed
done.
it.
I
And
think I
until next
remember-
time, this is Remember
I
When.
don't remember it. I would have to look at our LinkedIn conversation, but you did tell me like what department you worked for, and it wasn't like Health Kit or anything. It was like some new stuff. It wasn't Siri, but it might have been Siri adjacent. It might have been like settings related or something. I seem to remember I had a convo with you.
Ellie. You ain't
Oh, no,
done
this was a
taters
convo
in
with
so
Yo.
long you forgot how.
I'll bring
Let
this
me
up
show
when we
you how
actually
it's
speak,
done.
but remember
You
I got
gotta
you in
put
touch
some
with that
swing
kid like
in
a
it,
while
like
ago?
this.
Fresh out of high school. Dude, he's been through like 8 or 9 Apple interviews at this point, and he's not letting it go.
That's what you call vegan tater.
Remember when a shotgun blast at a critter turned into an oil gusher and a #1 sitcom? Yeah, that was the Beverly Hillbillies. The year was 1962, and CBS gambled on a show about backwoods bumpkins who struck oil and swapped their shack for a Beverly Hills mansion. The premise was simple. Drop a family that calls a swimming pool a cement pond into a world of country clubs and cocktail parties, then watch the culture clash unfold. Buddy Ebsen played Jed Clampett, the accidental millionaire, with more common sense than anyone in his new zip code. Irene Ryan was Granny, the shotgun-toting matriarch who treated city folk like spoiled milk. Donna Douglas brought Ellie Mae to life, equal parts beauty queen and critter wrangler. Max Baer Jr. was Jethro Bodine, whose 6th grade education and endless career schemes became running jokes. Raymond Bailey played banker Milburn Drysdale, forever scheming to keep the Clampett's millions in his vault. And Nancy Culp, she was Miss Jane Hathaway, Drysdale's sharp, loyal secretary and the level-headed voice of reason in a mansion full of chaos. For 9 seasons and 274 episodes, The Beverly Hillbillies was one of the most consistently watched shows of the 1960s. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about the Beverly Hillbillies you probably didn't know. However, before we load up the truck, hit that like button, subscribe, and hype the video. It helps YouTube show it to more viewers just like you. Oh, and stick around for number 1. It involves one of the most brutal cancellations in television history. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15.
People, stop showing up in my shit or I'm gonna block you. I hate to have to do it, okay?
Jethro Bodine bragged about his 6th grade education like it was a doctorate from Harvard. But Max Baer Jr., he actually had a business degree from Santa Clara University with a philosophy minor for good measure. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, Hollywood typecast Baer so completely that casting directors couldn't see past the goofy grin. He auditioned for serious roles and watched directors' faces fall the moment he walked in. "Can you do the voice?" they'd ask. Never mind the business degree or that he was sharp enough to direct and produce, he was Jethro forever. So, Baer stopped waiting for permission and went independent. In 1974, he wrote, produced, and starred in Macon County Line, a gritty Southern revenge film made for around $220,000.
Yeah, hemp is kind of slow sometimes. Say, y'all wouldn't mind showing me some identification now, would you?
It grossed over $30 million. Talk about a return on investment. He followed that up by producing Ode to Billy Joe in 1976, which was another hit. Add competitive golf trophies, real estate investments, and that infamous attempt in the late 1990s at a Beverly Hillbillies casino in Reno, complete with a 200-foot oil derrick and a restaurant called Jethro's All You Can Eat, and you've got a man who understood business better than most studio executives. The casino never happened. Zoning issues, funding problems, and probably some CBS lawyers getting involved, but the ambition showed how tightly Jethro clung to Bear's identity even when Bear was trying to escape. The frustration with typecasting simmered for decades until 2014 when he sued CBS over character rights and merchandising, arguing they'd blocked him from capitalizing on the role that made him famous and unemployable.
Granny, I caught that big chicken.
What ain't as tough as its age?
That is a flamingo.
Sometimes the dumbest character on TV is played by the smartest guy in the room, and sometimes that guy makes more money than the studio that wouldn't hire him. Number 14, Granny and Jed were practically the same age. Irene Ryan made Granny Clampett look ancient, almost like she'd been plucked from a dusty Ozark porch circa 1890, complete with bun, scowl, and enough sass to power a militia. She was only 5 years older than Buddy Ebsen, 59 to his 54 when the show started.
Hold on now, Granny. You ain't gonna stomp out no fire like that, are you?
Huh? Oh, of course not. Don't want to burn my shoes.
Granny and Jed could have been schoolmates, but Ryan committed to hunching like a question mark, and the makeup team spent hours every day adding wrinkles and age spots. Ebsen, who'd already danced alongside Shirley Temple and survived being poisoned by Tin Man makeup in The Wizard of Oz, played Jed as the tall, wise patriarch. Meanwhile, Ryan hobbled around the set like she needed a walker, barked orders, and carried the authority of someone who'd outlived 3 wars and most of her enemies. Off-screen, Ryan was still performing vaudeville routines with more energy than most 20-year-olds. During breaks, she'd straighten up, crack her back, and immediately look decades younger.
Oh, you bad boy. Where have you been?
Is that the dog?
Oh, yes, and look at him. He's so happy, and I'm so grateful. How can I ever reward you, Mr. Stanton?
Oh, please, no money. However, if you'd consent to have lunch with me, I'd be glad.
Lunch? Why, of course I will. That's the least I can do.
Sometimes the best acting challenge is convincing millions you're decades older than you are while your actual peer gets to stand up straight. Ryan earned her Emmy nomination the hard way, one hunched posture at a time. Number 13, Granny's cookbook was real and insane. A lot of sitcom cookbooks are novelty cash-ins slapped together by ghostwriters who've never watched the show, but Irene Ryan went all in. In 1996, she released Granny's Hillbilly Cookbook, written entirely in character with co-author Kathy Pinkney. Some dishes had tongue-in-cheek names like Beelzebub Birds for a special chicken dish, and baby oil liver munchings for an appetizer with eggs and bacon.
Then what I call my heavenly hash. That's grits and chitlins, possum belly, hog jowls, and catfish. All minced together and simmered in gopher gravy. Folks talking.
But buried between jokes were legit Southern staples. Cornbread, beans, greens, pickling tips, and what Granny called beaverages because spelling wasn't her strong suit. For the brave, there were actual small game recipes. Possum stew, roast squirrel, groundhog. The cookbook sold surprisingly well. Half the buyers wanted genuine recipes from their grandma's era. The other half wanted to see if Granny was serious about possum pie. She was. Dead serious.
Tell me about Beverly Hillbillies now. Oh, no, I don't want to hear about Beverly Hillbillies today. It's a great show, Wednesday nights, 8:30 to 9. That's fine, we know that. But what about the cookbook? I want to know about the cookbook.
Going very well, Alan.
Granny's cookbook.
And I can't tell you, the last time I was on your show?
Yes?
I cannot tell you how many fan letters I got asking where to get it.
Yes? Well, where do you get it?
Naturally, in a bookstore. You don't go to a hardware.
Granny didn't just cook up trouble on screen. She served it with gravy, folksy one-liners, and recipes that could double as survival guides, all in hardcover form. First edition hardcovers now sell for serious money on the rare book market. Turns out possum recipes actually appreciate. Julia Child taught America to cook French foods. Granny taught them to cook roadkill.
Tonight we is having leftovers.
That's the thing about possum innards. It's just as good the second day.
Number 12. Why did Jethro call him Uncle Jed if they were cousins? If Jethro was Pearl Bodine's son and Pearl was Jed's cousin, then technically Jethro wasn't Jed's nephew. He was his first cousin once removed. So why all the Uncle Jed talk?
Uncle Jed, I got me a girl. You sure have, boy, and a city girl, too.
Well, in rural Ozark families, younger relatives called older cousins aunt or uncle out of respect, not biology. It was about manners, not DNA. The same reason Ellie Mae called Pearl Aunt Pearl even though the family tree didn't require it.
Aunt Pearl, would you do me a big favor? Well, of course, Ellie Mae. What is it? Would you take this here fur coat?
The Clampetts weren't genealogists. They were hillbillies with good manners and a loose understanding of where everyone fit on the family chart. Besides, Uncle Jed sounds a lot more dignified than, hey, first cousin once removed Jed. And let's be honest, Jethro struggled with math that didn't involve food portions. You think he was mapping out bloodlines? Uncle Jed stuck because it sounded right, showed respect, and didn't require a flowchart. Perfect for a family that never met a rule they couldn't misunderstand. Number 11, Mr. Drysdale forgot his lines. Raymond Bailey spent 9 seasons as Milburn Drysdale, scheming, panicking, and obsessively protecting the Clampetts' millions like a dragon guarding gold.
Well, are we all set to give the Clampetts a red carpet reception?
Well, I'm afraid Mrs. Drysdale still isn't too happy, sir.
Yes, I know.
Off-screen, Bailey was the opposite. He was calm and professional, the kind of actor who hit his marks and nailed his lines for decades across Broadway, film, and radio. Then, during the show's later seasons, something started slipping. Bailey began showing early signs of memory issues. Missed cues here, forgotten lines there. The cast and crew noticed, but they worked around it, hoping it was just exhaustion from 9 years of panic-stricken comedy. Bailey had been a pro since the 1930s, and everyone wanted him to finish strong.
We want you to know how happy we are to have you, your handsome nephew, your lovely daughter, and your beautiful mother.
He made it through all 274 episodes, but by the end, the struggle was real. After the Beverly Hillbillies wrapped in 1971, Bailey managed only 2 more films, both mid-70s Disney comedies, Herbie Rides Again and The Strongest Man in the World, before retiring as Alzheimer's disease progressed. The once gregarious actor withdrew from public life almost completely.
I'm sure we're thinking of 2 different Oxfords. You see, there's one that's very, very famous and very old.
The only cast member he stayed in touch with was Nancy Culp, his loyal on-screen assistant, Miss Jane Hathaway.
I'm Jane Hathaway, Executive Secretary to Mr. Drysdale. And you, I take it, are a domestic of some sort?
Even as the world got smaller and harder to navigate, that friendship held. She'd visit, they'd reminisce about the show, and Culp became one of the few constants in his later years. Bailey died of a heart attack in 1980 at the age of 75, nearly a decade after Drysdale's last scheme. But in syndication, Drysdale's memory is perfect. Every scheme, every panic attack, every desperate attempt to keep the Clampetts happy. Raymond Bailey faded, but Milburn Drysdale never forgot a thing. Number 10, B. Benaderet almost played Granny. Before Irene Ryan got the role, creator Paul Henning seriously considered B. Benaderet for Granny. The problem was Henning thought Benaderet's figure was too full for the part. Granny needed to look wiry and ancient, like she'd survived on vinegar and spite for 8 decades. Benaderet, with her curves and natural warmth, didn't fit that scrappy, bird-like visual. Benaderet saw it too and didn't argue. She knew Ryan was the better fit.
Got the prisoner all tied up, Granny. Can I go back and get the other one now?
No, you can't. You keep your mind on your feuding. Close the gates.
So Henning gave Benaderet cousin Pearl Bodine instead. Jed's meddling relative who showed up, stirred chaos, then vanished back to the hills after 11 episodes. Benaderet played Burl with twangy sass, but she wasn't sticking around for long. Henning had bigger plans. He spun Benaderet off into Petticoat Junction, where she became the lead of a show that ran 7 seasons and 222 episodes.
Someday, that train's gonna sneak in, drain out all the water before you can get out, and leave you high, dry, and bare.
Ryan became an Emmy-nominated icon. Benaderet got her own empire. Turns out getting passed over for Granny was the best thing that ever happened to her. Number 9, Ellie Mae's critters were Hollywood royalty. Every critter Ellie Mae dragged into the mansion, whether it was a raccoon, possum, skunk, a monkey, looked like random wildlife she'd sweet-talked off the studio lot, but every single one was a trained professional. They were supplied by Frank Inn, one of the most legendary animal handlers in TV and film history. Inn's client list reads like Hollywood royalty. Benji, Arnold the Pig from Green Acres, the cat from Breakfast at Tiffany's, Higgins from Petticoat Junction. He ran a talent agency for animals, and his roster had better credits than most human actors. Inn worked on all 3 of Paul Henning's rural sitcoms, Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, and Green Acres, making him the hidden MVP of that entire TV dynasty. Without him, there's no Ellie Mae cooing over raccoons and no Arnold outsmarting Mr. Douglas. Next time you see Ellie Mae with her little critter, remember that wasn't a random woodland stowaway she found behind the mansion. That was a trained professional with an agent.
Rusty, now that you and Skippy's such good friends, I bet you'd like it fine if you could swim too. There ain't no reason that cats can't swim just as good as dogs.
A contract rider, and probably better craft services than the human cast. Number 8, Buddy Ebsen almost retired before playing Jed. By the early 1960s, Buddy Ebsen was finished. He danced with Shirley Temple in Captain January, survived the Tin Man makeup that nearly killed him, and spent decades bouncing between vaudeville, Broadway, and enough Hollywood musicals to fill a theme park.
All the best folks are parading on a Sunday afternoon. We'll rent a horse and carriage, and I'll be proud of you.
He was ready to trade his tap shoes for a quiet ranch life. Then his agent handed him a script for the Beverly Hillbillies. Ebsen later said, "I started reading and laughing, and by the time I finished laughing, I had signed a contract." The humor hooked him, but so did the potential. Ebsen had been through some lean Hollywood years, doing low-budget westerns and bit parts. The idea of steady work on a network comedy didn't sound bad, but Ebsen had one condition. They'd have to rewrite Jed. The original version was a wide-eyed country bumpkin, just another hayseed joke. Ebsen refused. He wanted Jed to be calm, moral, and quietly wise.
Maybe it's for the best that you know about that poor woman next door, Ellie. How you can pitch in and help us get her cured.
Yep. I'll need you to help find the makings from a sobering up mash.
The kind of patriarch who'd keep his family grounded no matter how crazy Beverly Hills got. Without that change, the Beverly Hillbillies would have been 9 seasons of laughing at hillbillies. With it, the show had a soul. Jed became the heart of the series, a character whose quiet dignity balanced the wild slapstick around him. And when the Clampetts picked up in 1971, Ebsen wasn't done yet. He went on to play the folksy detective Barnaby Jones for 8 more seasons.
I need some answers, Mr. Jones. Will you take the case? I'm afraid I'm going to have to. I'm too old to believe in ghosts.
The man who almost quit acting wound up with 2 iconic TV roles spanning 17 seasons. Turns out retirement can wait when you accidentally become a legend twice. Number 7, 55 episodes slipped into the public domain. Now, here's something Jed Clampett probably never imagined when he struck oil. That part of his fortune would one day belong to nobody. Because of a clerical mistake, 55 early episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies slipped into the public domain. Someone at Filmways, the show's original distributor, simply forgot to renew the copyrights in the 1970s. That blunder meant anyone could legally copy, sell, or broadcast those episodes for free as long as they removed the copyrighted theme song, The Ballad of Jed Clampett. That's why you'll find bargain bin DVD sets or old VHS compilations labeled Classic Hillbillies episodes.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed.
The picture's fine, but the theme song's mysteriously replaced with something that sounds like it was played on a kazoo. The accidental giveaway actually kept the show everywhere. Local stations, budget streaming services, and late-night cable all feasted on free Clampett content. CBS lost control, but America gained unlimited hillbilly access. So, if you've ever wondered why your favorite hillbillies sometimes roll into Beverly Hills without that banjo intro, blame a forgotten form, a missed deadline, and the most expensive clerical error in sitcom history.
Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolks said, "Jed, move away from there."
Jed struck oil. Filmways struck out. Now, quick question. Who was your favorite Clampett? Let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hype this video. It keeps the lights on and makes sure you never miss more weird TV facts. Now, back to the countdown with number 6. The concept was originally about time travel. Believe it or not, the Beverly Hillbillies almost started with a time machine. When creator Paul Henning first pitched the show, his idea centered on a pioneer family from the 1860s who suddenly found themselves in modern New York City. CBS loved the fish out of water concept, but hated everything else.
That's bad. Out driving in broad daylight ain't no way to get engaged.
What are you talking about? I proposed to your daughter out driving.
In a horse and buggy, that's a heap different.
Filming in New York? Too expensive. Time travel is too complicated, and pioneers in bonnets? That's too niche. So, Henning went back to the drawing board. He kept the culture clash, but ditched the time machine. The setting jumped from the 1860s to the 1960s, and the family became poor Ozark mountaineers who struck oil, loaded up the truck, and moved to Beverly Hills. No flux capacitor required.
Get through. What does that sign say? It says Beverly Hills.
You share that, Granny? We're buying.
That rewrite turned a gimmick into gold. Instead of a contrived time travel plot, audiences got a surprisingly smart comedy about wealth and class. The Clampetts didn't need to be from another century to feel out of place in Beverly Hills, they just needed to be themselves. Number 5, the Clampetts jalopy sold for $275,000. The Clampetts' rickety jalopy wasn't just a rolling punchline, it became genuine TV treasure. The on-screen vehicle was a customized 1921 Oldsmobile Model 46 Roadster, modified by famed Hollywood car builder George Barris to look like it had been cobbled together from barn scraps.
The Clampett gardener shouldn't leave his car parked in the front driveway that way.
Oh, you're absolutely right, dear, yes.
Granny's rocking chair was bolted to the flatbed. Household goods were roped to every surface, and the whole contraption looked like it might fall apart after 3 miles on a paved road. The original Hillbilly truck was donated by series creator Paul Henning and his wife Ruth to the Ralph Foster Museum in Point Lookout, Missouri on May 6, 1976. Henning, who grew up in the Ozarks, presented the truck as a bicentennial gift to the region that inspired the show. The truck has remained one of the museum's most beloved attractions ever since. Of course, multiple versions were built for filming. You can't just shoot 9 seasons with only one car and expect it to survive. One of those screen-used jalopies resurfaced decades later and became a collector's prize. In 2015, one of the backup Clampett trucks rolled across the block at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale, Arizona. Classic car fans and TV memorabilia collectors went wild in a bidding war that would have made Mr. Drysdale beam with capitalist pride. When the hammer finally fell, the final price was $275,000. That's serious money for a truck that looked like it needed divine intervention to start. For the same amount, you could drive off in a brand new sports car, or you could own a rolling icon that hauled America's favorite hillbillies straight to Beverly Hills. The Clampetts loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. Decades later, their ride moved straight into collector's history, proving that sometimes junk is worth more than gold if it comes with the right story. Jed would probably find that pretty ironic. Number 4, Max Baer Jr. played his own twin sister. Remember when Jethro suddenly had a twin sister named Jetherine who looked mightily familiar?
Oh, this here's my daughter, Jethrine.
Well, that's because they were both played by Max Baer Jr. Yeah, that one was hard to miss. It's not every day you see a 6'4" actor in a blonde wig playing his own bashful twin sister. Baer pulled double duty in 11 episodes during the show's first season, and audiences loved every second of it. But here's the part most people don't know. The high, lifting voice of Jethrine wasn't his.
Ahead of you, her heel win the race, and that'll never do.
It was dubbed by Linda K. Henning, daughter of series creator Paul Henning, and later one of the stars of Petticoat Junction.
Let's wash her out when we get to the hotel.
Eventually, Baer got tired of the double act, and Paul Henning agreed it was time to move on. Jethrine was quietly written out after season 1, but she left her mark, a one-of-a-kind sitcom experiment that only the Beverly Hillbillies could pull off with a straight face. Number 3, Nancy Culp versus Buddy Ebsen's political war. On screen, Jed Clampett and Miss Hathaway got along just fine. Off screen, Buddy Ebsen and Nancy Culp, not so much. Word around the set was that they butted heads from the start. Ebsen was old-school Hollywood, a conservative song and dance man who liked things his way. Culp was college-educated, sharp-tongued, and not afraid to challenge him. The relationship remained professional, but friendly banter sometimes carried an edge.
Let you and me go and leave these two lovebirds alone.
No, wait, please, let me take you all to Palm Springs.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you take Jethro and Ellie Mae and me and Granny will stay here.
Then came 1984, and things went from simmer to a full-on boil. Culp, a lifelong Democrat, decided to run for Congress in Pennsylvania, and Ebsen, he publicly backed her Republican opponent, even recording a radio ad calling her too liberal. Nothing like hearing your old co-star trash you on AM radio. Culp clapped back in interviews, saying Ebsen was nothing like his kindly Jed Clampett persona and should have minded his own business. The situation was wild, and the tabloids loved it. Culp lost the election, and what little was left of her relationship with Ebsen was done. For years afterward, fans asked Ebsen about the situation at conventions, and he either dodged or doubled down. Now, some folks close to the show claim Ebsen and Culp might have patched things up before Culp's death in 1991, but no one really knows. If they did, it was strictly off the record. Either way, it's one of those behind-the-scenes stories that proves TV's nicest families could still throw a little shade when the cameras stopped rolling. Number 2, the theme song hit number 1 and made bluegrass mainstream.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed.
Few sitcom themes ever cracked the charts. The Beverly Hillbillies didn't just crack them, it banjo-picked its way straight to number 1.
One day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crew.
The Ballad of Jed Clampett was written by the show's creator Paul Henning, not pulled from some old folk archive like a lot of people assume. He needed a catchy way to tell Jed's whole backstory in under a minute. Poor mountaineer, struck oil, moved to Beverly Hills, and somehow turned it into one of TV's most iconic songs.
Oil, that is, black gold, Texas tea.
Henning brought in bluegrass legends Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, who were initially nervous about the word hillbillies. Once they realized the show was a satire, not an insult, they signed on and made history.
Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there.
The vocals came from Jerry Scoggins, while Flatt and Scruggs handled the picking. When the commercial single dropped in late 1962, it shot to number 1 on the Billboard Country chart and even reached number 44 on the Hot 100. It was the first bluegrass single ever to hit number 1. A genuine
like
cultural
AI
milestone
training my account.
disguised
Yeah,
as a
maybe,
theme song.
Skynet / ChatGPT is like, all right, this boy's going too crazy. I don't care that he paid everything off. I don't care about anything. Shut it all down.
And Flatt and Scruggs went from regional favorites to household names. They even showed up on the show several times as family friends.
Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars. The Beverly Hillbillies.
Before the Beverly Hillbillies, a lot of people thought banjos meant hillbilly noise.
Yeah,
After
so
this,
as you
they
can see in the
meant
screenshot, let me
primetime
know
gold.
if you need me to resend
The song
it. But
single-handedly
basically, I
brought
maxed out my
bluegrass
Apple card,
into
and then I was on the
mainstream
phone with
pop
Goldman
culture, and
Sachs
for a
trying to
while
raise
there,
the limit.
picking
They
a
wouldn't
banjo
do
on
it
network
for me, so I
TV
just
was
paid the
almost
whole
as
thing
cool
off
as
to
strumming
clear
a
it up,
Fender.
and somehow now I have a 0 card balance with 0 available balance.
And even
which should be
today,
an
more than 60 years
$11,000
later,
credit line.
that twangy opening
And I
still
just wanna
might be
use
the
my
most
Apple Pay for
recognizable
my
banjo riff
Telegram
in television
fucking
history.
big purchases, bro. Come on. So thanks, Brian, for your attention.
Number 1, CBS canceled it during the infamous Rural Purge. You'd think that a show that hit number 1 in its first season would be safe for a long time, but that's not even close. In 1971, the Beverly Hillbillies was canceled by CBS. Not primarily because it was failing in ratings, but because it no longer fit the demographic profile the network wanted. Welcome to the infamous Rural Purge, one of the most brutal programming massacres in television history.
Unless, yes, you're making a mistake.
Howdy there, Miss Jane. Ellie Mae, you didn't spend no time at all at school.
Network brass, led by Fred Silverman, decided rural-themed comedies attracted older, less desirable audiences for advertisers. Though the show still drew solid viewership and retained a loyal audience, the network believed its appeal skewed too old, too rural, and not ideal for advertiser targets. So, the Beverly Hillbillies got dumped alongside Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, and Mayberry RFD. Pat Buttram, who played Mr. Haney on Green Acres, summed it up perfectly. It was the year CBS canceled everything with a tree in it.
The winter is liable to be right stove up when she gets here, walking all the way.
Don't worry, kid. One slug of my rheumatism medicine and she'll be as good as new.
The decision marked the end of an era. Out went the Clampetts, the Douglases, and the Bradleys. In came All in the Family, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and later, MASH. Shows that reflected changing American culture and attracted the demographics advertisers craved. CBS's gamble paid off. The network dominated the 70s with its new slate of relevant, edgy programming. But for millions of fans, losing the Clampetts felt like a gut punch. The oil well didn't run dry. The network just decided it was time to drill somewhere else. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about the Beverly Hillbillies. Which one hit you the most? Which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments section below, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hype the video for more nostalgic deep dives. Until next time, this is Remember When.
Blanche, what are you doing lining shelves on a Friday night?
I'm working off all my excess sexual energy.
Why don't we just hook you up to the toaster and make Pop-Tarts?
Remember when 4 women, 1 kitchen, and an endless supply of cheesecake somehow became one of the funniest and most beloved sitcoms of the 80s? Yeah, that was The Golden Girls. When the show debuted on NBC in 1985, it showed the world that 4 women over 50 could absolutely rule primetime. Over 7 seasons and 180 episodes, Bea Arthur, Betty White, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty turned a Miami home into TV's most entertaining house share, and we loved every minute of it. But behind all those laughs and that iconic theme song, there's a lot you probably don't know, including which future Oscar-winning filmmaker once showed up dressed like Elvis. Now, before we get started, hit subscribe, drop a like, and hype the video because we're about to get into 15 weird and wonderful facts about the Golden Girls. Now let's roll with number 15, Blanche's accent. That was all Rue, eventually. When Rue McClanahan first read the script for Blanche Devereaux, it actually described her as more Southern than Blanche Dubois.
I ran into this man at the produce counter, and he asked me to play tennis with him tonight, but I forgot that Big Daddy's baby brother.
But when she got the set, pilot director Jay Sandrich told her to drop the accent and just use her regular Oklahoma voice. You know, because why would a Southern Belle character sound Southern? Rue disagreed, but there's only so much you can argue with your director. When the Golden Girls got picked up, a new director came in, and Rue asked producers if she should still ditch the accent. Their response? Of course not! We want exactly what you did at the audition, so Rue went all in. She based Blanche's syrupy drawl on her cousin Ina Pearl, a woman from southern Oklahoma who'd basically invented a ladylike accent out of thin air, like she was auditioning for Gone with the Wind at a church social.
It was an Ina Pearl accent. My mother's cousin, Ina Pearl, tried to put on something between an English and a ladylike southern accent because she didn't like talking like this.
Rue took that inspiration and turned it into TV gold, a voice dripping with charm, flirtation, and self-delusion all at once. Without that accent, Blanche might have been just another witty roommate. With it, however, she became the South's answer to sex positivity before anyone was even calling it that.
Didn't wait for my wedding night, honey. I couldn't. I had these urges. You know, in the South, we mature faster. I think it's the heat.
Number 14, Estelle Getty was younger than her TV daughter. Now here's some Hollywood math that'll break your brain. Estelle Getty played Sophia Petrillo, Dorothy's elderly, sharp-tongued mother. The character was supposed to be in her 80s, frail but feisty with a face that screamed, "I've seen some things." Small problem though, Getty was about 62 when the show started, and Bea Arthur, who played her daughter, was about 63. Yeah.
What's the catch? Ma, there's no catch. I just realized I like taking care of you. I just wish you could have told me about the money so we could be honest with each other.
It's not that I want the money.
Dorothy was technically older. To pull off the illusion, the makeup team spent almost an hour every single day aging Getty with wigs, latex, wrinkles, and heavy foundation. And it worked. Audiences completely bought it. Then Getty made their job exponentially harder. Between seasons 1 and 2, she got a facelift. If you compare Sophia in the pilot to later seasons, you can actually see the difference.
You want poetry? You listen to Neil Diamond. You want good advice? You listen to your mother.
Early Sophia looks appropriately weathered. Later Sophia, she's got that I just came back from a spa weekend glow under all the prosthetics. Getty later joked that she spent more time in the makeup chair than anyone else on set, trapped under layers of latex every morning just to look older than she actually was. So yeah, Estelle Getty, the only actress who had to fight against looking too young while playing someone else's mother. Number 13, the theme song was a recycled pop single.
Thank you for being a friend.
Everyone knows the Golden Girls theme song. It's basically a warm hug set to music, impossible to hear without feeling something.
Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant.
The theme, Thank You for Being a Friend, was written and recorded by Andrew Gold in 1978, peaking at number 25 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and hitting number 11 on the US Cashbox chart. For the show, it was re-recorded by Cynthia Fee, whose sunny, soulful version became TV's ultimate sing-along. Gold later received multiple BMI TV Music Awards for the song's use in The Golden Girls. Birthday parties, karaoke nights, even the occasional funeral, this song has been sung everywhere Americans gather to feel feelings.
You would see the biggest gift would be from me.
The series itself was a critical and ratings powerhouse, winning 11 Primetime Emmy Awards, 4 Golden Globes, and a permanent spot in TV history. The theme was an anthem for every unlikely friend group, every chosen family, and anyone who's ever needed a reminder that friendship can get you through anything. If you don't automatically join in on the chorus, hand over your nostalgia card. Whether you watched it with your mom, your roommates, or discovered it years later in reruns, this song hits the same way every time.
And the card attached would say,
Pure friendship gold. Number 12, the cast had already worked together. A lot. Want to know why the Golden Girls clicked so fast right out of the gate? Well, it's because these women already knew each other. Like, really knew each other. Bea Arthur and Rue McClanahan had already spent 6 seasons together on Maude from 1972 to 1978. Arthur starred as the outspoken liberal Maude Findlay, while Rue played her best friend Vivian Cavender Harmon.
Vivian, how long have we known each other?
22 years.
22 years. We've been through an awful lot together.
A lot.
A sweet, slightly naive character whose airy charm perfectly balanced Maude's sharp New York wit. Vivian was, in many ways, a warm-up act for what would later become Blanche Devereaux. All the charm and gentility just waiting for the flirt switch to be flipped.
People are staring.
I don't care. I want my books back and I want it back now.
Meanwhile, Rue and Betty White had already shared the screen on Mama's Family in the early 80s. Rue played Mama's spinster sister Fran Crowley, and Betty played Mama's daughter Ellen Harper Jackson, a proper Southern Belle type.
Glenn, I would like to have you meet my family. This is my mama, Mrs. Harper.
Hello.
And my brother Vinton.
Hey.
And his wife, Mrs. Harper. Hi. And this is my Aunt Fran. How do you do, I'm sure.
It's funny because on the Golden Girls, they completely swapped energy. Betty went from refined to naive, and Rue went from repressed to radiant. By the time the Golden Girls premiered in 1985, these weren't just talented actresses meeting for the first time. They had history. They had rhythm. They'd spent years fine-tuning their comedic timing across multiple shows. Basically, NBC didn't just cast a sitcom, they accidentally reunited a comedy dream team that already knew each other's punchline pace. No awkward first-day energy required. Number 11, Betty and Rue were cast in different roles, then they swapped. This is how the Golden Girls almost became a completely different show. Betty White was originally cast as Blanche, while Rue McClanahan was cast as Rose. On paper, it made perfect sense. Betty had spent years playing Sue Ann Nivens on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, a man-hungry, flirtatious schemer.
Just because it's my birthday, you don't have to go to all the trouble of going out and buying me a present. I'll do it for you.
Will $20 be enough?
Oh, $20 will be fine.
I bet you say that to all the guys.
And Rue, well, she'd already played Vivian on Maude, a loyal, warm-hearted best friend who could be naive but also tackled real-world issues and political debates.
Well, you know how it is. The more you want to succeed at something, the more afraid you are of failure.
Like you last night, Arthur.
So the producers figured, let's just have them do that again. Except both actresses said absolutely not. They didn't want to be typecast. They wanted new territory. Then pilot director Jay Sandrich made a bold suggestion. What if they swapped roles? Betty would play Rose, the innocent St. Olaf-obsessed sweetheart, while Rue would play Blanche, the sultry Southern belle. The moment they read it that way, everything clicked.
Did they ever shoot a herring out of a cannon?
Only once. But they shot him into a tree. After that, no other herring would do it.
Even B. Arthur, who had worked with Rue on Maude and was unsure about teaming up again, came on board after seeing the chemistry. That one decision didn't just tweak the show, it defined it. Number 10, from Miami Nice parody to TV legend. So how did the Golden Girls actually happen? Well, depending on who you ask, it's either a heartwarming family story or a complete accident involving a sketch. The official "aw, how sweet" version is that NBC president Brandon Tartikoff supposedly got the idea watching his elderly aunt bicker with a neighbor. Cute story, very wholesome. Also, maybe total nonsense because the other origin story is way funnier. Now, let's set the scene. It was 1984 and NBC was doing a fall preview special. Actresses Selma Diamond and Doris Roberts were performing a comedy sketch where Selma misheard Miami Vice as Miami Nice and proceeded to riff on what a show about older women in Miami would look like.
We're here to introduce a show that takes place in the most wonderful resort in the world, Miami. Land of Coppertone and corned beef. Mink coat, cha-cha lessons, the Jackie Gleason show. It's been canceled.
It was a throwaway gag, a parody, except NBC VP Warren Littlefield was sitting in the audience going, wait, that's actually a great idea. So, Littlefield tracked down producers Tony Thomas and Paul Younger-Witt, who brought in Susan Harris, the genius behind Soap and Benson, to actually develop it. Harris took one look at the concept and realized nobody was doing this. A show where older women were the stars and not the punchlines or the wise grandmas dispensing advice in small doses. She wrote the pilot, NBC picked it up, and suddenly, a joke about mishearing the name of a cop show became one of the most beloved sitcoms in TV history. So yeah.
Golden Girls is certainly one of the most popular shows, but now it's a phenomenon. Books are being written, it's discussed on the internet, it's being rediscovered by a generation. Just wondering.
Sometimes genius isn't carefully crafted in a pitch meeting. Sometimes it's just two veteran actresses goofing around and one network exec who actually pays attention. Number 9, the Golden Girl who got fired after just one episode. Now, before Sophia moved in, the Golden Girls had another roommate, Coco, a gay live-in cook played by Charles Levin. He appeared in the pilot and then he vanished like he'd never existed. Imagine showing up for your first day of work and getting fired before the second episode even aired. That was Coco's entire Golden Girls experience.
Who's she going out with?
Harry, again.
Harry? Who is this Harry?
So, what happened? Sophia Petrillo happened. Estelle Getty's Sophia was initially written as a minor character, just Dorothy's elderly mother who would occasionally pop in from Shady Pines. But Getty crushed it so hard in the pilot that producers immediately realized they had a hit. Sophia got promoted to series regular, which meant someone had to go. And spoiler alert, it wasn't going to be the tiny Sicilian woman with a wicker purse full of one-liners. The math was simple.
Did I mention the colic?
Ma, you're hurting my feelings.
Not as much as you hurt my uni. Ma!
You couldn't have two sassy characters competing for zingers in the same kitchen. Sophia brought the sharp tongue and the built-in emotional stakes of being Dorothy's mom. Coco brought witty banter and a spatula. Not quite the same. It didn't help that the pilot ran long and most of Coco's scenes got cut anyway. He barely registered before he was shown the door. Years later, Stan Zimmerman, one of the writers on The Golden Girls, admitted it was the right call for the show's chemistry, but he still regretted never exploring more of Coco's story. They'd even had ideas for him, like opening a bed and breakfast in Key West.
Tea, Sophia.
How about a shot of gin with a beer back?
From Golden Girl to B&B owner in gay-friendly Key West. That's quite a pivot, and one that would have been pretty progressive for the 1980s. Instead, Coco became a trivia answer. No farewell episode, just gone. So, here's to Coco, the Golden Girl who almost...
Okay, that's it. That's it. You've been a bad girl.